morning from Sandakan, Borneo. We got here late last night, woke up in this little boutique resort, and we are here not to enjoy the lovely swimming pool, but to enjoy some true jungle adventure. So today we're going to explore the little port town here and a couple of sanctuaries for rescued animals, but then tomorrow the real adventure begins. You'll also see lots and lots of palm trees here, and that's not just because they grow naturally, they're actually farmed. You'll notice that they're in rows when you're landing on the plane, and that's because they're cultivated just like a crop, and they're used predominantly for palm oil. We went to the Rehabilitation Center where they find animals that have been injured or perhaps displaced because of logging or plantations. Just coming into the park, and there are these wooded boardwalks through the jungle, and I mean, the second we walked in, there was this couple of security guards and a massive orangutan suspended directly above us.
Weren't here for 5 minutes and there's already one in the tree.
We were able to get a little footage, but they wanted us to keep moving because I gather he was kind of dangerously close. It can take several years to rehabilitate the orangutans, but once they are rehabilitated, once they do adjust, they are often released back into these jungles where they live out the rest of their lives. Orangutans are among the most intelligent species on the planet. They're right up there with the chimpanzee. In fact, they share 94% of the same biological makeup as humans. They're incredibly intelligent, very curious, but also standoffish. They're massive, and you can often see them sitting up in the trees watching you. And there's usually an alpha male, and he has a harem, if you will, of females. And that's true of a lot of these different species of monkeys here, including the proboscis monkey as well. After driving for 45 minutes or so, we arrived at what was described as a proboscis monkey sanctuary. It's a place where an assortment of monkeys roam freely, waiting for their next delivery of fresh fruits and veggies. The proboscis monkey, which is endemic or exclusive to this island, is actually one of the most curious creatures you'll ever see. They have a rather large honker nose, and the larger the nose, the more attractive they are to females. Pay attention, ladies. And these alpha males will sit in a tree or in a nest, and the females will be in the surrounding trees, and the male will always face anyone. Like as we're approaching, the male faces and basically sets up a posture and lets his tribe know that he's vigilant, he's watching them. And the females are all very attracted to the bigger, the brawnier, and the bigger the nose, the better. We arrived in the town of Sandakan, which is essentially a gateway town to this river. It also has a little bit of an infamous past. In World War II, it was infamous for the Sandakan death marches, in which British and Australian troops were marched pretty much to their death through these jungles. There's one incredible story. There was a lady named the Ring Lady. When she was 13 years old, she was walking through the jungle and found 5 Australian soldiers hiding. And out of compassion and a kind heart, She left rice and fruit and supplies for these 5 men. She kept coming back and doing it over and over. Eventually, she told her father about it, and he supported her efforts, and they took care of these 5 men just by leaving supplies for them, knowing they were there but not bothering them. And one day the soldiers were gone, but they left behind 6 golden rings, which she didn't tell anybody about until years later when she got married. She gifted 4 of the 6 rings to her sisters and cousins and relatives, and I presume kept 2 of the rings for herself. And that was the first time the world knew about her acts of kindness. Whether or not those 5 gentlemen were saved long term, I don't know. But because she was so compassionate, Australians and veterans still come to visit this place to this day to pay tribute to the ring lady, someone who, through a simple act of kindness, took care of 5 soldiers, risking her own life.
After a long day of primate gazing, Ringo dropped us off at the waterfront, where Angela and I devoured simmering street food and ice-cold Tiger and Anchor beer. Favorites among the locals who partake of such things. But we didn't stay out late. We knew we needed to be well rested for tomorrow's upriver journey. The next morning, we boarded our speedboat back down at the port. We raced out the mouth of the bay, touching the Sulu Sea before hanging a hard right up Kinabatangan River, the second longest river in all of Malaysia. The turquoise blue waters of the open sea quickly turned milk chocolate brown as signs of human development waned and the jungle closed in around us.
Back in Florida, we have alligators, but they're nowhere near the immensity of the crocodiles, the saltwater crocs they have here in Borneo. These creatures can get up to 20 feet in length, and they can live 90 years or more. That means some of these guys have been around since the Great Depression before World War II.
After a few hours of speedboating and gator gawking, we arrived at Sukau Rainforest Lodge, our Robinson Crusoe-like jungle retreat for the next several days.
This is actually our resort of sorts, or I should say more of a jungle lodge. And we're out there. It took us several hours by speedboat to go up the river and into this expansive preserve. A lot of the camps that are up here are absolutely inaccessible by road, only by boat. So once you get out here, you're out here. Last night was an adventure because of the bats like almost hitting us in the head several times as we walked to dinner. You can imagine that if you stepped away from this place for more than a week or 2, it would just be consumed back by Mother Nature. These wooded coverings, these awnings over the walkway, aren't just for aesthetics or to make it more park-like. It's actually protection, because the orangutan, either through just mischievous feelings or through fear, will often throw branches or other things down on you. So you have to have an awareness when they're around to not stand too close or directly underneath them, because they will throw shit, and literally throw shit in some cases. I have to admit, it is a very strange sensation to be standing here by yourself. Well, I can't say by yourself. I'm standing here looking up into the trees and see faces staring back at me, as curious about me as I am about them. This is what I would say is the dining pavilion. There are numerous meals served here throughout the day, as well as several bars on property. But it's pretty rustic. It's pretty. It's a jungle retreat. Now we're here for several days, and throughout every day, starting at 5:30 in the morning, there are excursions deeper into the jungle and into various rivers and narrow canals where the wildlife is just right there. Not a sanctuary, not in a preserve, but real raw jungle experience.
This is where the real adventure begins. Get up before sunrise, slug down some coffee, board a small boat, and explore the pre-dawn rivers and tributaries where you can get right up close and personal with Borneo's indigenous locals. Our quest? To cast our very own eyes on Borneo's coveted Big Five animals in their raw, natural habitats, including orangutans, proboscis monkeys, the colorfully iconic Rhinoceros Hornbill, the elusive Pygmy Elephants, and more of those massive and prehistoric saltwater crocodiles. As the sun and temperatures rise, these animals will retreat deeper into the rainforest, only to return to the river's edge right around sunset, when giant pythons and other predators slink through the underbrush, hoping to prey on any stragglers. Be sure to pack a poncho. These things come in handy when the bottom inevitably falls out. I mean, this is a rainforest after all.
So we saw 4 of the big 5. We didn't get to see the pygmy elephants because they're actually further up the river and deeper in the jungle this time of year, especially because of the heat. But we did get to see the orangutan, we got to see the proboscis monkey, we got to see the hornbill, and we also got to see the saltwater croc, a massive 18-foot saltwater croc, as well as a lot of little crocs that will be here for the next 90 years, if they're lucky.
The so-called experts estimate that the Amazon rainforest is about 55 million years old, give or take a few millennia. By startling contrast, Borneo's rainforests are over 140 million years old, one of the oldest forests on the planet. So the Kinabatangan is more than just a river. She's a time machine. Over tens of millions of years, these ancient ecosystems have endured vast geological upheavals and wild climate fluctuations. In doing so, they've evolved into some of the most biologically diverse habitats on the entire planet. They've seen the comings and goings of countless species and of countless civilizations. As we left the dense jungle canopy and serpentine river waters behind, we hurtled back toward the future, back to a far less interesting world littered with smartphones, wars, plastics, and politics. As we emerge from our eons of time travel, we can't help but wonder, are the answers to today's problems all contained in the past, just waiting to be rediscovered? After all, adventure isn't just found in the remote places that we visit, but also in the stories that we manage to bring back with us.